Hi YouTubers, it's Roxanne here from Rox's Cards and Crafts. So before I start this tutorial, I just want to warn you that there is going to be a fair bit of talking on my behalf. Sorry about that, very unavoidable when it's a teaching tutorial. And number two, I'm going to ask you, have you done your test cuts? So you can get this cheat sheet from the files in CRICUT Expression group, and I don't think it's worth me doing a tutorial with how to do it, but before you start cutting your vinyl, your sticky vinyl or your HTV vinyl, please make sure that you do a test cut. I think for the most part, I will be using my blade on 2.5. As your blade gets older, you will need to either add blade length or add pressure. You can test one or the other. I'm going to have pressure on medium. I did start with low, and my speed is just going to be high still unless I do something intricate. All right. In my opinion, there are only two types of vinyls you need to worry about. And when you're first starting out using vinyls, it can get quite confusing. Confusing in the way that one has a backing and one doesn't. That's the first step of knowing. So here I have two pieces of vinyl. One's normal vinyl and one's HTV vinyl. It's very hard to know which one to use. Say if you wanted to just do a title for a scrapbook using normal vinyl, not what we call HTV vinyl. So you've got your normal vinyl and you've got HTV, which stands for heat transfer vinyl. So we need to use an iron for it to be adhered to, say, a t-shirt. But what we'll do is we'll turn them over. This is going to help. The normal vinyl has a paper backing. So this is Oracle 651. For the 651, it is great for outdoors. It's got about a 5 to 7 year lifespan to be adhered to something outdoor and to suffer from things like the sun, the wind, the rain, stuff like that. So you could make a decal for a car, for example. Your HTV does not have a backing. But what it does have is a shiny transfer sheet on it. So we don't want to cut that shiny transfer sheet. With your adhesive vinyl, the one with the backing, you will need, in able to get it off the mat when it's been cut, you will need what we call transfer tape. When I first started, I didn't know a lot about vinyls because I was mainly just doing scrapbooking and just using cardstock. And actually I found clear contact paper okay to use. So I'm going to try it on 2 at the moment. But the one I'm sticking to is this Style Tech. So you'll be able to get that off Amazon or even a local stockist. There are different brands, I think, as well. But anyway, do your homework online. But this is Style Tech Grid C5. There's also a HTV Ront brand as well that has got good reviews. I'm going to try both of them. And I like this one because you can line up and make things nice and straight. So once again, I have a Nice sticky mat. This is a standard grip that I got from Aldi's when they had a special on. I've only had a couple of cuts on this, so it's quite perfect. When you use the new mats, don't try and pull the stuff off, you know, like your cardstock straight away like that. I want you to get to know, to learn to turn your mat over and gradually pull it off gently like that. That way you don't get it curling. Also be very careful not to bend this back too much or it will snap the mat. So place your adhesive vinyl with the backing on your mat and roll it with your brayer or your hands. Make sure it's well adhered to the mat, okay? Once again, don't use tapes. There's no need to use tapes if you've got a nice sticky mat. I'm going to pop that into the CRICUT Expression. I'm going to be using the cartridge Wildcard. And page 61, I found the word happy birthday. I will do a video on how to do sizing, but right now you're stuck with just making sure it's at the top right hand corner because that's where it's going to stay. And finding, this one's on, it's C10, so A, B, C, and 10's over here. So I'm just going to press the keypad. Then I'm going to press, whoopsie, going to press phrase. It's just right, I can't see. Okay, phrase. And it should come up with the word happy birthday. It does. I'm going to cut it twice, but I'll just do it for one now, and I'm going to do it 4 inches. Actually, 3 3/4 on this one will make a good card size. I did go ahead and make a card that my granddaughter made. She painted. And there you have the happy birthday there, which is about 3.5. So I'll give that to my daughter, which is her mother, in August. So I'm going to make, yeah, let's make it 3.5. I'm just going to, so here, I always just go in and press cut. Before you go and press cut, check your settings. I'm going to use 3 for my vinyl. Pressure is, I want it at medium, and the speed can stay at high. Now I'll press cut. I'm going to do that twice and then I'll come back with that all finished. You don't want to watch this process. So I'm just going to grab my ruler and X-Acto knife and I'm going to cut the rest of that cardstock off because I'm going to cut the rest of this adhesive vinyl off so as not to waste it. Set that aside, and here I have this cut in half. You don't have to cut that. Well, look, it might be easy to weed. Anything that's easy to weed, we put a weeding box around things in programs, and we use a good old ruler and X-Acto knife when we don't have a program or any other time. So I'm going to weed this. You just grab the corner and hopefully it should just peel off yummingly, and that was pretty yummingly. Cool. So I'm just going to go and weed this. So you notice what I've done is I've actually cut it If I cut that through, that wouldn't stay. So what we've done is we've kiss cut. We've only cut the vinyl, but we haven't cut all the way through the backing. You don't want to cut the backing, hence you have to follow your cutting tests. So you might cut it with a brand new blade and you forgot to change your blade and it's on 6 and the pressure's on high and it cuts all the way through. You can still use this, but it would just make life difficult. So test it so that all it's doing is cutting the very top of the vinyl, the colour bit. You don't want to cut the back at all. Kiss cut. Keep it simple, stupid. And I'm not saying that you're stupid, but it's just a saying. So we're going to weed this. So with a weeding tool, you just need something that's got a nice sharp tip. CRICUT does have brands, but there's a lot cheaper ones. I think you can buy them in kits with clay making tools and stuff. So this is my favourite one I've had for years. So here's another one that I got off Amazon. It's not too bad. I still always, though, go back to my favourite one. You can just pierce it and lift it up. You know, take it to the side. Oh, you can keep that wrapped around your finger and that flicks away. Keep that. You can use tweezers. Which are painful. Sometimes you can move it and pick it up with this. So you will develop your own style, no doubt. I want to talk about light pads or bright pads. I never got one of these until way down the track. I don't know if that's because they weren't around, possibly. You could also get, if you've got an iPad, you could try that first and just get a free app for like a white background for your iPad and it'd be the same. But really good for glitter weeding. Not so much these because I've got an overhead light and I can see rather well, but this one is USB connected and it has 3 different settings and I can see that quite well. Only thing is I can't stick things down, but I can if I do this. So I'm just going to weed this. This is actually just a colour one I wanted to get rid of. Again, you can just use your sticky to pick that up. I'm just not getting too close so my head isn't in the way, but you get the gist. But I can see the lines on there quite well. All right, so I won't go on and on and on about light pads, but there's an option for you. So all that's left to do now is I'm going to show you how to lift this up and what to do with putting that onto your transfer sheet. Oopsie. So I've got some contact here, which is the real cheap stuff, and then I've got the Stylatech. I've got a card topper just to show you about putting a title on some cardstock. And also I need my, I'll use my library card. Turn this around and we'll start with one. What I'll do is I'll start with the contact paper. I don't need this much. I'm going to cut that down and pick up a corner. I use my sticky mats to help me all the time. Now this one isn't lined, but I'm just going to place that down onto the first one. Now I saw a tutorial where there's heaps of tutorials on the different transfer tapes, but what I want to do is, once you've decided what transfer tape you like, you need to concentrate on actually burnishing, and burnishing means to just rub. And look how easy contact paper brought that up. When you put it onto some cardstock, gently put it down, but only tap. Don't tap all of it. And gently just work with it as you go along. Now it doesn't want to let go. Okay, it's sticking a bit too much. I didn't want it to grab the cardstock. So another thing you can do there is, once you start getting used to working with your vinyl, and you want to do this with a small card or on a scrapbook page. Scrapbook paper is going to be a bit more flimsy. I think I collected a bit there and there. What you can do is rub it on your skin or some piece of clothing. Skin's probably better. Okay, it's cheap and you probably won't use it again. So I'm going to throw that one away now. So that's my contact paper, and that worked really, really well. And I'll just line, this is way too big, but that's okay. I'm going to line that up so that it's on the side down there, and then the line runs underneath, and give it a good little scraping. Now, what I wanted to talk about was the age of your vinyl. This black vinyl is relatively new. I'd say it's about 3 months old and it's still working well. This blue one that I tried still works fine, but it is over a couple of years old. I'm in an enclosed room. It doesn't have air conditioning, but I get air conditioning from the rest of the house. So be mindful that it's sometimes, if the vinyl is just not coming to the party for you, it could be about the age of the adhesive. Find out how old it is. And that came off beautifully. And I'm going to put that, line that up at the side, or just line that up in the middle. I'm just eyeballing this at the moment. I am going to show you how, when we do layering, how to layer vinyl, but that's going to be in another tutorial, as this is about cutting and applying and using transfers. So using something to just give it a little bit of help, just the words. This should be good. And this stuff's pretty forgiving on cardstock as well. So I just like Style Tech 100%. It's good for cardstock. The contact nearly wanted to pull the cardstock off with it, but with practice, you'll get to know. Just got to practice, guys. You've got to test cut. When I first started, as I said, I knew nothing and I got as frustrated as the next person. Let's talk about heat transfer vinyl, also known as HTV. You have to do a test cut. So here I've done a test cut. I just found a simple shape in the booklet that I'm using, Wildcards, on page 50. And then you have to flip it. So now if you are still unsure about your HTV, shiny side is down. You'll always hear people tell you if you forget or you happen to ask, shiny side down. The shiny side is actually the carrier sheet. Okay, so that is see-through. I actually cut it on this side and then I flipped it. So when you turn it around, it's around the right way. Why we always mirror or flip in the case of Cricut Expression, we were here first and we called it flip. Now they call it mirroring. Your shiny side is facing down and then you get a dull side. The dull side is actually behind the actual vinyl. Now if you are unsure, all you need to do is pick up or just pierce. So stick your picking tool in and rip it. Now, if that was on this side, you wouldn't be able to pierce it. It's a pretty tough plastic. But once again, you do not want to cut all the way through. This is the carrier sheet, the shiny plastic bit. It's your carrier sheet. We don't use transfer sheets like we do for the adhesive vinyl. So shiny side down. And I'm putting it up where it normally goes. Brayer to a nice sticky mat. You are going to need a sticky mat. It will not, I find it has trouble sticking to my restuck because I restick all my old mats with Aileen's Tack It over and over, 100% strength glue. And I find the HTV plastic has a hard time sticking to it. Maybe if I tried isopropyl alcohol, it might work. Oh, we'll try that. And maybe come back in the comments. So you want to go ahead and do your little test cut. So I'll quickly show you with the heat transfer vinyl, the test cut that I want to do. Wildcard book. Now this is going to be different from the Plant and School book. Plant and School book, I said to hold this on the left. With this one, you've got to turn on the right. And what I did, I mean, I don't plan on selling these books, but even if I did, the hard work's done for them. So that happy birthday that I did, in the front of the book, I've got binding to the right, And when it was cut out, it cut that way. So on page 50, I'm going to do this liner. It's a nice small little sample to do a test cut. And it's going to cut with the binding to the right. It's going to cut in that direction, the right way up. Now, in the other tutorial, I showed you with the pink 12 by 12 piece of cardstock to drop it down there and drop it on these grids. These grids measure 12 by 12. Okay, but with the Cricut Expression, by default, it will start over in the top left-hand corner. So for now, we're going to put everything in the top left corner because you might have scraps and stuff like that. There is another way that I'm going to teach you about sizing things, but for now, and I only say that so that you know that there are other places to go with this machine. Not just straightforward, stick it up here and guess the size and stuff like that. This is just a test cut. So this is my HTV. I have a dull side and I have a shiny side. Just so happens this one is dull, but sometimes on a white, say for example, you can't tell. So I'm just going to pick and decide that way. It came up. So I'm going to stick the shiny side down on my mat. Take out my brayer and make sure it's stuck down. Now let's go and talk about what settings to use. Load your paper. Now my vinyl at the beginning was on 2, so I'm going to change my blade to 2, which is anti-clockwise at the moment. My pressure was on low, and the reason my pressure was on low at the beginning was because I had a brand new blade. The brand new blades are very, very sharp. I've since cut a bit of cardboard and everything with the same blade. So I'm going to stick my pressure on medium. It's a bit hard to find when you say you've picked it. It's easy enough to go through the book and pick a little, image to use as a sample cut. But if you're like me and you go away for a couple of days and then come back and do this tutorial again, you forget where it is. You can either mark it, I forgot to mark it, but knowing it, that's all well and good in finding it, but knowing where it is on here in these early day books, it wasn't easy. So what we did back then is I just used to get a Sharpie, and then I don't have to do that anymore because I know that that's A, B, C, D, E. So there's 5 down and there's 10 across. So there's 50 keys, main basic keys. And then you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 creative keys. So you get a lot of images and a lot of layers. So this one happens to be, and you start at the beginning of the book if you want to label them. If you're worried about selling the book, I wouldn't. Just keep it nice and neat. I'm going to find page 1, it would be good. When you get past all the English and the Russian and the German and whatever else there is and all the ideas. This is page 1, or the first information about the first image is actually on page 32. That's how much stuff you have to flip through. So the first one is going to be this one up here, which is A1. So I'm going to start with A1, nice and neat. The second one obviously is going to be A2, and that's going to tell you where to find things. So that little one that I did, and I've taken the mark out, is going to be B9. Or if you were using what we call the universal keypad, which they brought out with these shorties, so that's a normal one, and then they started bringing out more, and the handbooks just changed altogether. So it was learning to grow as we went along with the different ways that the handbooks. So that's why I'm saying do an image, find out which way I go on the binder, leave yourself a note somewhere that that's the way the binder goes, and that's good for, what that's good for is long. So if you had this long word, you make my heart sing. Well, if you looked at this way and made sure that your cardstock went long ways that way to accommodate the width, you'd be wrong. You would have to turn it over that way, and you'd have to put the long bit for the width down that way, because that's the way the machine goes. That will make more sense as we go along. So I'm just going to cut this image. I have set my blade to 3. Pressure is medium. Liner, and then B9. So A, B, and then 9, which is that one. And then my flip is on. Have a look at that. So when you have a look at the screen, you're looking at it that way. So if I didn't have that on flip, right, this is the way you're looking at it. So to flip it, you will see that that long tail is now on this side. But for cutting, it will cut that way. Strange, I know. Don't shoot the messenger. I did not develop this machine. But as I said, always do a test cut. Always leave yourself notes at the beginning of each book. So I'm going to cut, unload. This is a test cut. I just want to cut off the lovely excess HTV. And lift that off. Save that for a rainy day. And that's the way it came in. Pick up a corner. And you can see now, because it's cut mirrored, let me take that off. Let me turn that around. So you're going to flip it on to the material. And it cut, all right, turn that light off. Binding to the right, that's the right way around, and that's exactly the way it should have gone. All right, so I found a nice design, cute as a button, which is on page 28 of Kate's ABCs. So that's the button up here. So I want to do shift, phrase. It's that button, which is A8. I'm going to sew a button onto a t-shirt for a girl, and then because we are using heat transfer vinyl, we need to definitely flip our image, or in new terminology, mirror. So mirror or flip. Expression was here first and we called it flip. So I've got that on 2 1/4 inches after mucking around a bit. And I'm going to unload. So 2 1/4 on this one was spot on actually. It just goes from there to there. It just doesn't go out. So I've got a bit there. Now I can see that it's cut where it's cut and I can see the weeding and everything. But if, for example, you're cutting on glitter, it is impossible to try and find where you cut. So I can see, so I'm going to cut, that's my little test cut. I'm just going to cut like I did with the other cardstock, away the bit that didn't get used and just take that away from the equation. And then all I basically got is a weeding tool around this and I just have to weed it away. Now, if you want, you can use these pads that you've got for your stamping techniques. You can run a bit of talcum powder over the top. Like I said, I can see this, but glitter is a nightmare. And that's where you're going to need some sort of talcum powder. This little brush I got from Amazon, I think. I think you just tap it. And I just put talcum powder in that. And there you go. You can see where the cuts are. Now it's just a matter of doing exactly what you did with the other, keeping it all, keep that on the mat. It's just easy to keep that on the mat. HTV is a lot more forgiving than the adhesive vinyl. One can only hope. Oh, that's where my button goes. There's a button. Okay, and now I can see where I need to weed. This doesn't have a sticky backing like the adhesive vinyl does. It relies on the glue to be activated by heat. The transfer sheet that it comes on is a bit sticky, which is great when you put it down onto the material, because it just stays there then. So you're going to weed all that, and if you happen to get a colour HTV that is hard to weed, and you will come across those from time to time, pick it up and just check it from the front. So this is how we cut it. It's been back to front, and then when it goes on the shirt, it's going to flip back to its normal position, and it says cute as a button, and I'm checking all my vowels, B's, O's. You take all the centers out. I have no idea why there is an ugly dot there, but it's exactly the same as that when cut, because I cut it, it's a shadow of that one. So, I mean, I'm going to take that one, I'm going to take that out because I'm going to be putting a button there anyway. So I don't want that. Alrighty, so that was nice and easy. Very, very easy. We are on the home stretch. So I have my CRICUT Easy Press on the factory settings that I bought my HTV from. So as I said, please write that down. You can write it down, stick it on masking tape and put it around your right. For example, this one. This is from Scats Cats. It's HTV Ultra Flex. Now, Ultra Flex, I'm not sure if that's meant to go on more flexy things than a t-shirt. It's at 160 degrees for 10 seconds and it's a warm peel and it's called Rain Hollow Silver. I don't know if that's hollow or halo, but it's beautiful. I should have used that, but maybe next time. But I'm telling myself where I got it from because sometimes I will venture out and try somebody else's products. But this is from my regular supplier from Imagine Vinyl here at Ormo on the Gold Coast, Australia. Sorry, guys. So what I want you to do, I'm going to put all these things aside. I want you to pick up your cute as a button or whatever you've decided to cut and try and find the middle, whether that be by using a ruler that has middle settings. What I do is just go from the longest point to the longest point, and which in this case it's the A and the N. Those meet, and just pinch the top and the bottom, and that will give me a middle guide. Now on your t-shirt, do the same. You're going to fold your t-shirt in half. I've never had to go and buy any of those fancy t-shirt markers. So you're going to fold that in half, and this acts as both getting the moisture out with a pre-iron as well as making a crease. You just have to make a crease on the top of the shirt. And there you will find the middle of your shirt. Now I've got this shirt sitting on a mat, but if you don't have any of this equipment, you can use a towel or even a seat of a firm office chair or a seat of a dining chair. They've got pretty firm foam, and put that over that, and then you can use your iron. Once again, if you don't have an easy press, you can use an iron, and through this tutorial there was a chart for your iron settings to match 150. So with this HTV from my manufacturer, lining up the middle, the bottom, the top, and the middle, it is 150 degrees Celsius. So whatever you guys are in Fahrenheit, Siri's up there. So 150 degrees Celsius for 15 seconds, and it is a warm peel, which means I'll probably just go like that, take it off, and so let's get on with it. So I've just placed it where I thought I would want it. Now I do have a button going there, and I knew I would lose this button. So I just want to make sure that the button it fits, and hopefully it doesn't get in her way. I usually put things, so Keep losing my ruler. I don't know, they say about 5 centimeters from the top, which is pretty spot on, and that's just from eyeballing it. My button fits, so this is where I'd like it to be. Middle line meets middle line, ready to go. So all I do next is put my baking paper on top. Now, baking paper will protect the fabric underneath, as well as this. It is made to go into high heat scenarios, so this is really all you need. I've got my settings on 150 and on 15. And I am standing up. I'm going to press that, and I'm going to press, give it as much pressure. Take that off. Now what you can also do is turn it over, leaving the carrier sheet on, and give it about a 10-second press on the back. Now this is a warm peel, so I'm just going to let it cool down a little bit. Just give it a bit of a test. Now leave it a little bit longer. And this is what your carrier sheet is. So you've just ironed on top of that and you've just peeled it off. So that's basically what we use as transfer sheet for the adhesive vinyl. So you can throw that away now. You do get that little bit of sticky on that side, so do with it what you want. Like I said, when it has that sticky, it's good to keep this in place. Now what I like to do is give it that little bit of extra just a little bit extra. Probably for about 10 seconds or even 6 seconds. Okay. It's always what I've done. And this stuff that I buy from her, and I'm sure that the Caesar weed is the same. It just feels like it's actually printed on. You can't tell that it's an iron-on at all. So I'm going to go and sew my button on and come back. And here is the finished t-shirt for my little 3-year-old granddaughter. Please like, share and subscribe. I hope this has helped with any confusion with HTV or adhesive vinyl. If not, please always leave some comments either in the CRICUT Expression Facebook group, which I will leave a link down below for you, or in the comments below. Please subscribe, as this encourages me to do more tutorials to help those who buy the pre-loved legacy machines, the CRICUT Expressions. So bye for now.